the child. Goal number 3, empowering women. First goal, paying the bills. Now, the third speaker of the proposition accused us of only discussing extremes in this debate, and this is just not true. We're going to go through the spectrum of individuals who need to pay the bills, and we'll show you that at each point in the spectrum, side proposition's policy does no good. Let's start from the extremely poor, and we told you that this debate is really not about the extremely poor. If there are extremely poor people out there who can't pay the bills, the solution is targeted economic welfare, the indicator of which is not the number of children you have, the indicator of which is your poverty level. So on these counts, if the issue is the extremely poor, side proposition's policy is a problem-solution mismatch. In fact, this was conceded when they gave my second speaker a point of information, saying, would we prefer it if team proposition's policy was only about the extremely poor? Well, yes, we would, because if it was only about the extremely poor, then that turns into the status quo of welfare based on economic indicators. So you see, it's not really about the extremely poor. But here's where I'm going to tell you that we haven't been nitpicking with that policy. There is actually a major loophole in that policy. If the only criterion upon which parents are paid is whether or not you have a child and you are a housewife, then you incentivize the extremely poor to have a child just for the sake of using a child and your status as a housewife to become paid. So on these counts, though, thank you, there's the glaring loophole in that policy is they haven't told us how they're going to enforce this mechanism. What is the exact condition? If you only need to have a child, then all those social workers whom you talk about aren't going to be of any use, because any poor individual who desperately needs the money is going to have a child whom she can't take care of just for the sake of ensuring that he has a stable income through their status as a housewife or a house husband. No, thank you. So that's why we haven't been nitpicking at the policy. It's actually a major problem. Let's discuss another point on the spectrum, the middle class, and they wanted to shift the analysis too. We told you if the issue is that for the middle class, the price of being a parent is prohibitively expensive, then again, this is a problem-solution mismatch, because the criterion for allocation is wrong. If the problem is that it is prohibitively expensive to have a child, then the state should be pushing down the expense of having a child, not making sure that, no thank you, that people who are in the middle class get more pay. How does the state do this? No thank you. We've given you examples down the line. We do this by subsidizing education, no thank you. By giving benefits to individuals for sending their children to school. We do this by providing free primary education, for example. So if the criterion is that the middle class, for the middle class is prohibitively expensive to have a child, then the solution is to push down the price of having a child. No thank you. Furthermore, their side actually makes this situation actively worse. Because down the line we told you, their side produces an allocation problem. Okay, so here's the problem. If I am a rich person with 8 children, say I'm a rich housewife who by some measure of inheritance, I have the ability to pay for 8 children, then I'll be paid more than a poor woman who only has 1 child, because she can only spend on 1 child. Their side produces this inequity in allocation, because then they tie, no thank you, they tie the amount of pay you have to the number of children you have, not to whether or not you need that assistance. So their side creates a massive problem with distribution. The opportunity cost is incredibly huge, so thank you. We've told you down the line it's huge, because states around the world are already unable to pay basic standards for teachers. Teachers are among the most underpaid people around the entire world. Now they want to pay every housewife and every house husband the same pay as a teacher. That is a massive opportunity cost to the sort of resources you can allocate to pushing the price of having a child down. Second goal we want to meet, so thank you, nurturing the child. Now the key crux of the analysis we heard from proposition is they want parents to spend more time with their child. The subtext of this argument is they want more parents to become housewives or house husbands. First response, they actually disincentivize parents from becoming housewives or house husbands. We've told you all the way from our second speaker, whenever you substitute a financial incentive with a moral incentive, or the other way around, thank you, you actually discourage people from pursuing a course of action. The parallel he gave you was to blood donation. Whenever the price, when people were paid for donating blood donation rates the world around actually went down. I'll take you in a moment, because people perceive this as an act of selfishness rather than an altruistic action. So even on the criterion of whether or not we want more people to become housewives or house husbands, they disincentivize this from happening. Yes, sir.
We think a love for a child is more significant for the love of giving blood. Why does paying people money disincentivize them for caring for their kids?
Because you know that every person who looks at you when you walk out of the street will think the only reason she's a housewife is because she wants to loaf at home and get paid anyway. So you actually incentivize parents to continue working, to try to struggle to find that balance, even though it might be more expedient to become a housewife or a house husband, because they don't want that stigma of being seen by everyone as a money-grubbing individual. The second thing we told you is that there are many other ways to nurture a child, not just to encouraging you to become a housewife or a house husband. No, thank you. They said, oh, but daycare centers don't care about nurturing moral values. Okay, what about having a child stay with your relatives, for example? I'm sure they'd be really glad to inculcate the right moral values or the right social values. Furthermore, we told you, no, thank you. In my second speaker, we gave you a very important argument that hasn't been addressed. Where do children spend the vast majority of their time? It's not at home anymore. In the current day and age, the vast majority of a child's time is spent in school. That's why the vast majority of the inculcation of moral values actually happens in school. What's the problem with schools in the status quo? The problem is that they're underfunded. Countries like the United States of America are struggling to cope with the public education system. No, thank you. With all of the resources that policy consumes, we could be pumping it into where children actually learn their moral values from, and making sure schools have the money to manage all the students who we think need to be addressed. So that's why we take out the argument about gangs, right? No, thank you. Because children also learn moral values in places like school. So if we solve the problem of inculcation of moral values, then all those harms about gang runners don't accrue. But furthermore, no, thank you. We brought you one final argument. The child needs a lot more than just these financial resources. The child needs a loving family. No, thank you. Their only response was this glib reply by a third speaker that, oh, but the financial incentive doesn't pervert an altruistic incentive. The problem is not whether or not what the parents' real motivations are. The problem is always the lens of perception of the child, which colorizes how they view the parent. Now, we know that by and large, parents really love their children and vice versa. The problem is that families often run into problems. Like during the age of adolescence, when children become more rebellious, when children start questioning whether or not their parents truly love them. That's the exact age at which it's very dangerous for you to introduce the element of finance. Because precisely everything that second speaker said was true, if parents try to cover up the fact that they're being paid, if they lie to the child the fact that they're being paid, then the moment the child finds out, that devastates the child's relation. You call into question his entire identity. Why am I here? Why do my parents love me? Is it because they love me for who I am? Or do they love me for the paycheck I'm getting? Okay. That is the sort of problem we introduce, so thank you, especially into problem families, like families with teenage children. Third and final goal we share commonly, empowering women. No, thank you. The question we really ask is, what is necessary for the empowerment of women? Team proposition, no, thank you, thinks the only thing that is necessary is money, in the words of both the second and third speaker. Here's our question. Who holds the purse strings? In a staunchly patriarchal family, even if the woman is paid, that doesn't necessarily mean she will be given the freedom to spend her money, because the husband is the one who controls the purse strings. What does outside give in contrast? Outside gives you skills. And the difference is this: while your money can be taken away from you, your skills can never be taken away from you. Skills you can use to actually empower yourself. Skills you can use to go forth and find a job for yourself, to create a life for yourself. The difference in the house is this. Team proposition creates a tension. On the one hand, they want to encourage more parents to become housewives, while on the other hand, they want to continue to empower women. This cannot happen at the same time, because women need that space to find them, to develop skill sets, which bring them respect, which bring them social positions, which then translates into society viewing women as equals. So on these counts, we think what is necessary for the empowerment of women is skills, which my second speaker told you about, not the money. At the end of the day, what have we shown you? We've shown you that we meet all three goals far better than the team proposition, and that's why love does not come in dollars and cents.
Speaking time was 8 minutes 5 seconds. I'd like to thank the third opposition speaker for his speech, and now to deliver the opposition reply speech, please welcome Tan Teck Wei.
They say that when we're at this age, for most of us here, as a teen, we don't actually understand what our parents go through. Despite that, we think Team Singapore has done a fairly good job trying to explain what a parent's relationship with the child is. And that's why by the end of this debate, we come to the conclusion that it really isn't about the money parent gets. I want to compare both sides of the house in this reply speech, to show you why the world of Team Opposition is the better one. Let's start with the world of Team Swaziland. It is the world that had noble intentions and some really nice rhetoric in identifying a problematic group in society, poor families. And we empathize with poor families as well. But the answer was not to adopt the most monolithic policy ever used by governments in the words of team proposition. Why? Because when you use a blanket policy to encourage good behavior, it doesn't target the groups who need it the most. That's why, as they conceded, the majority of parents are middle class, and the majority of the money will be going to this same middle class that they championed at the start of the debate. This is why the key question we asked about their world, will this policy work, is so important. Because if we can't be sure that there will be more parents, or if we can't be sure that the parents who do stay at home are doing so for the right reasons, is it really worth risking the relationships of the parent and the child for the rest of society? The answer is no. The world of team proposition was the one where teenagers like ourselves, who are already seeking to rebel against their parents, will now just have one more reason to call them a nasty name. And I know that for most of us here, we don't do those things, and we try to think that we're good children. But we need to accept that in the vast majority of cases, parents have tough times dealing with teenagers, and this policy makes things harder for a parent. Finally, the world of team proposition is the one of the opportunity cost, that takes money away from the other alternatives that would otherwise have been so instrumental in helping a child, in giving the child a home away from home after his school ends. And because of that, it was Team Swaziland's policy and the world of Team Swaziland that, despite their best intentions, made society worse. What is the alternative of team opposition? It is the status quo, because we believe while the status quo isn't perfect, there's a very good reason why we don't pay our parents already in the status quo. The reason is simple. It's because we dignify the sacrifices they've made in the middle class or as a poor family. We dignify their sacrifices by not telling them the only reason you should do this and stay in the house is because I will now give you some cash. The world of team opposition is the one which uses welfare as a targeted policy, not as a policy that tries to pay everyone in the hope of doing some good. Because we don't believe cash handouts, for instance, should be a good way of solving poverty. The answer in the world of team opposition is specificity and a targeted policy. The reason why a targeted policy is so much better is because of all the things we told you about. It's only by targeting schools, where children spend most of their time, targeting the after-school environment, where it's where teenagers often get taken away or do really bad things with their life. It's only in these most important cases that we cannot afford to take huge amounts of money from helping the kids that need this help the most. And finally, it was the world of team opposition that was not so cheap as to tell women around the world that you are being empowered because you can now stay in the family and will give you the money to do so. It was the world of team opposition that acknowledged empowerment and freedom and independence. It's about being able to be rewarded for whatever choice you make, not by being rewarded for a choice that you were very often forced into. That's why by the end of this debate, we were proud to say that what's unquantifiable isn't always bad, but what's unquantifiable is sometimes left unpaid because the alternative is demeaning and destroying what keeps families together. Go Team Singapore.
Speaking time was 4 minutes and 9 seconds. I'd like to thank the opposition reply speaker for his speech, and now to deliver the proposition reply speech, please welcome Fanele Mashwama.
When Tiger Woods' wife left him, she left with hundreds and millions of US dollars. Because while he was working on his swing, what she was doing was as important, if not more so. And this is what the boys from the kingdom proudly stand for in proposition about its states. So we've had 3 questions in today's discussion. Firstly, what happens to the child? Secondly, what happens to the home? And finally, what happens to society? On the first question, what we heard from Singapore was a very, we think, not considerate, inconsiderate man. What they told you is that we pervert altruism. We pervert altruism when we implement this policy, ladies and gentlemen. What we told you was that this was an unfair characterization for two reasons. Firstly, we don't think the most important organic structure in the history of human existence, the family, is going to be undermined by a small monetary incentive. Oliver said this, I said this. Secondly, we told you the child would much rather have their parent there. It's not going to be like, go away because now you're earning a bit of money to take care of me. They're going to be like, oh my goodness, thank the Lord we have electricity today. That's what we think the response is to the gender and not the one they discussed. What did we tell you with regards to what happens to the child? We think both sides of the house actually accepted that if the parent is there, it's a good thing, right? We're going to control what the kid watches, we're going to control what the kid eats. And we think that this helps the child. And what they had to defend was the status quo where children feel neglected. And what they said was instead, let's take all this money and pump it into schools, which I'll discuss as to what we said to it when I asked what happened to society. So we think both sides of the house kind of accept that if parents are there more of the time, and if it's a good thing for the child. And we think we make the parent there more of the time when we give the parent the means to be there more of the time. So then the second question, what happens to the home? Then we had a discussion of a spectrum, right? We have the extremely rich on one end, the extremely poor, and the middle class, where